All right, as you can tell by the title, we got the All American Oaks and Derby trial preview here. Picks for those races should be a pretty quick episode here. And if you haven't already, go check out the All American Futurity picks. That one's a little bit longer, a little over 50 minutes for both days of trials, a couple or multiple pick fours, couple pick threes, daily doubles, and more than that on that episode. So check that one out. Not going to waste any more time. Let's get right into the Oaks and Derby selections. So we got 5 trials for the All American Oaks to get things started on Sunday's card. I'll kick it off with a daily double. It's a $4 ticket. I ended up singling the 4 in trial 1, as most people will, I imagine, and Toby Sis, a supplement into the trials here. Daughter of Favorite Cartel out of the Walkthrough Fire Mare, London and Laura. This one for Valriano Racing Stables LLC. Raymond Valerio, the trainer, jockey Francisco Calderon. She is 3 for 4 this year. Qualified to the Heritage Place Oaks early in the year. Ended up 5th in the finals. Showed some late run, but was just a bit too late to catch Chewbacca, Wera and others. And then in the Rainbow Trials, managed to win by 3/4 of a length over GFC Sinful. I believe set the fastest time. Came back to win the finals by 3/4 of a length, also over GFC Sinful in that one. And then to pair with that in trial 2, I went 2 deep, starting with the 7 as my top choice, Rockstar Martini at 9-2. A filly by Just Good Candy out of Martinis and Bikinis by Red Stormcat was a $40,000 select yearling a couple of years ago for Life's a Dream Farm and Racing LLC. Rodolfo Valles, the trainer, the jockey, Joseph Bellick Jr. This one is 2 for 3 this year. Started off in June against Allowance Non 2 Company at Albuquerque. Got the win there clearly by a length, getting clear more and more toward the end. And then in the Rainbow Oaks trials, got the win there as well at a driving finish to win by 3/4 of a length and qualify to the Grade 1 finals. Ended up 8th in that one after a stumbling beginning, so looked to get away a little cleaner this time in Rockstar Martini. And then with that one, we'll go with the 2 as well. Wera at 3-1, another supplement here. Daughter of Flying Cowboy 123 out of Pillow Talk by One Dashing Eagle. TQHA yearling a couple years ago for $73,000, owned by Ruse Ranch LLC. Marco Chavez Gutierrez, the trainer, jockey Jonathan Dominguez. This one's 3 for 5 this year with a couple of seconds as well. Started off the year runner up in Allowance Non 3 Company at Remington Park. And then bounced back to set the fastest time for the Heritage Place Oaks, opening up to win by a half length. Ended up second in that Heritage Oaks final by a half to Chewbacca, and then has since won back to back. Impressive in the Speed Horse Derby trials by a length and a half, and then held on to win by a half length over Mr. Boombastic and others in the Speed Horse Derby finals after a brush at the start as well. This one was the winner of the Oklahoma Juvenile last year and also third in the TQHA Sale Futurity, another grade 1. Earner of about 200,000 now in Wera C. The other 3 trials for the Oaks, I went with the pick 3 here. It's a $9 ticket, and I went 2 deep in trial 3. Top pick being the 3, Apollo Revenge at 9-5. Daughter of a Revenant out of Apolitaka by Apolitical Jess, a $48,000 select yearling a couple of years ago, now owned by Wetona Stanley. Interesting there. Trained by Jed Vane. Jesus Ayala with the rides. Only had the one start this year. That was in the easy date, finished second behind Jay's Freight Train. And coincidentally, both of those ended up being on that vets list there that we've talked about at Remington for a while. So hadn't had that many starts. Last year was one of the dead heat winners in the Heritage Place Futurity and also won a trial for the 2 million. Didn't qualify there. Worked July 15th, 3:30 and 16:53 was second fastest of 5. Also going to go with the 4, Ruse Tickle Knockout at 9-2. Daughter of Apolitical Jess out of Adolph Trace Knockout by Trace Ace. A $210,000 yearling at the TQHA sale a couple of years ago for Me Serenity. Or My Serenity, I should say. Mark Younger's the trainer and the jockey Edwin Escobedo. Had a pretty good year so far with a win in 4 attempts. Hadn't been off the board in those 4 attempts. That one win came in the Los Al Oaks trials early in the year. Won that one by a length, qualified to the Grade 1 finals. Ended up third, beating a half a length behind Beautiful and CM Jessa Blue Monday as well. Also ended up second in the La Pacifica Handicap, beaten ahead there by Slated to Shine. And then in the Rainbow Oaks trials last time out, finished third in the same trial as Toby Sis and GFG Sinful, of course, both of which qualified to the Oaks final. Last year at 2 was a finalist in the Oklahoma Futurity, was also third, beating a length in the Black Gold Phillies Futurity, and also runner up in the Southwest Juvenile Invitational there at Zia Park. Pretty consistent one throughout her career. 5 wins, 2 seconds, and 4 thirds from 12 career attempts, and about 180,000 earnings for Ruse Tickle Knockout. Trial 4, I ended up going 3 deep here. We'll start with the 3, RC Astico's Kitten, RC Astico's Kitten, by Astico out of the Apolitical Kitten by Apolitical Jess, RC Racing LLC, the owners, Jorge Morales Flores, the trainer, Raul Ortega with the call. Only one start this year that came in the Rainbow Oaks trials. It was in the same trial as Beautiful and Ideal. It was crowded early, ended up holding on to the show there, still beating a couple lengths for the whole thing. But one that's only had the one win, but has always been up there consistently. So I threw this one in here at a bit of a price at 10-1. Was a finalist in the La Fiesta Futurity last year and the Four Corners Futurity. So let's see if that one can make it a bit of a better paying ticket, perhaps at 10-1 if that holds. Also going to go with the 5 Bandita at 3-1. Daughter of KVN Corona out of the Desirio mare Desired Effect. LCI LLC, the owners. Mark Younger's the trainer. Edwin Escobedo with the call. This one has had 4 starts this year. Did qualify to the Rainbow Oaks a couple of races back, despite being 5th in the trial. Managed to qualify, ended up 7th in the finals. Was also 3rd in the Holiday Handicap last year, a finalist in the Osai, both out at Los Al. See what this one can do. Seemed to really like that 440 distance. The numbers, the finishings, I should say, may not show it, but still seem to like that 440 in Bandita. And then we'll round this leg out with the 4 Full Moon Desire, Daughter of Cholitos out of Mystical Desire by Desirio. TQH yearling a couple years ago for $11,000 for Liverum Racing, LLC. Heber Melendez, the trainer, Juan Polito with the call. Only one start this year, finished second behind Blood's Valiant Policy in the Miss Ritama. That was back on July 24th. Beating a length and a half there. Weakened a bit late. It was no match for Blood's Valiant Policy. Last year had a fantastic year, 4 for 6. Was the winner of the Grade 3 Juvenile Challenge at Sam Houston. Also won the Evangeline Downs Futurity, a Grade 2, and was a finalist in that Juvenile Challenge Championship, of course, at Albuquerque last year. And then in the 5th, I also went 3 deep in Trial 5. My top selection is going to be the 3 Where's Queen Bee at 7-2. A Daughter of Flying Cowboy 123 out of the Tack It Like a Man mare, Symbol of Faith. $63,000 select yearling a couple of years ago for Morton's Ranch LLC and Ruse Ranch LLC. Rodolfo Valles, the trainer, the jockey Christian Cardenas. 1 for 3 this year, won a non-3 allowance at Remington. First start of the year, ended up second, beating a half to Wear a C in the Heritage Place Oaks trials. Qualified to the Oaks finals and ended up 8th, beating well over 3 lengths. Was kind of moving around when the gates flew in that Heritage Oaks and didn't leave her with much of an opportunity there. June 25th at Albuquerque, went 220 and 12:02, was 12th of 33. Also going to go to the 8 DR America's Dynasty, a filly by Ivory James out of the FTD Dynasty mare America's Dynasty for Wetona Stanley and Jed Vane. Juan Polito with the call. 1 for 2 this year. Won a trial for the Heritage Place Oaks by a head. Qualified to the, did I say Heritage? It meant Remington Park Oaks. Qualified to the restricted Grade 3 finals. Ended up 5th, beating a length and 3/4 behind Amaryllis, Emerald Bay, Flawless Grace, and others in that RP Oaks. Another one that got put on that list, and one that's had about 4 different trainers here in DR America's Dynasty. Was a finalist in the Lyco Bird last year. 4th in the Heritage Futurity as well. Earner of $137,000 so far in DR America's Dynasty. And then we'll round this ticket out with the 6 Shimmery at 9-2, a Daughter of MP Shining out of Don't Pass Bar by a Regal Choice. A $21,000 select sale purchase a couple years ago for Joaquin Gutierrez and Juan Fierro. Danilo, the trainer, the jockey, Jacob Enriquez. 1 for 5 this year. That win came against Allowance Non-3 Company at Sunland Park back in March. Ended up third in the trials for the Ruidoso Derby behind Flying Chance and RF Runaway Cowboy. Managed to qualify to the Grade 1 finals and ended up eighth after not showing much run late for Shimmery. Did have a bullet work on August the 1st, though, 220 and 1186. That was fastest of eight. So again, that's a $9 ticket, 3-4, 3-5-4, and 3-8-6 for trials 3, 4, and 5 for the All American Oaks. Let's get the Derby trials started here. 8 Derby trials, so I went with a couple of pick fours here. It's a $12 ticket on this opener, trial 1. That is race 6 on Sunday's card. I went 2 deep. Top pick being the 1, Famous and Relentless at 5-2. A gelding by He's Relentless out of Tritune by Trey Sace. This one is owned by Tom Maher and Amber Olmstead. Jason Olmstead, the trainer. Jockey Ramiro Garcia. 2 for 6 this year is Famous and Relentless. Started off his campaign this year with a third in the Remington Park Derby trials. Didn't qualify there, but did run second in the Mr. Masterbug right after that, a grade 3. Won the Ruidoso Invitational after finishing third in his trial for the Ruidoso Derby, and then had an impressive length win in the Rainbow Derby trials 2 races back. He qualified to the finals, ended up ninth after a bit of trouble at the beginning there for Famous and Relentless. Last year at 2, was a finalist in the Oklahoma Mystery Futurity and was also fourth in the Black Gold Colts and Geldings Futurity at the end of the year last year, an earner of over 200,000 now in Famous and Relentless. Also going to pair that one with the 3 Revolutionary V at 6-1, a gelding by Favorite Cartel out of the Valiant Hero mare Bellissima Chocolata. Valriano Racing, the owners, Raymond Valerio trainer, Francisco Calderon up, first start of the year, but is 2 for 3 lifetime. Won a maiden at Ruidoso last year by a neck. Ended up 7th in the trials for the Rainbow after a bit of trouble at the start. And then most recently in the All-American trials last year, got the win by 3/4 of a length after a bump start. Didn't manage to make the finals there. Worked July 22nd, 220 and 1166, was second fastest of 13. Trial 2, race 7. I'm going to go with the 2 as my top selection. That is Jarvis V at 7-5. A gelding by Apolitical Jess out of Denelli by Big Daddy Cartel, a $260,000 select yearling a couple years ago for Valriano Racing. Raymond Valerio, the trainer. Francisco Calderon up. 1 for 6 this year, but has not been off the board this year. Started off with a runner-up finish in the Los Al Winter Derby trials. Ran third, beating a neck in the Grade 1 finals. Was second to GFG Sinful in the Ruidoso Derby by a length, and then was also second, beating a half in the Rainbow Derby to Political Twist. Not too shabby ones to run behind there, and obviously we got to keep these connections in mind. Did win the Los Al 2 million juvenile last year and was a finalist in the Osai handicap. 328,000 in earnings for Jarvis V. We're going to pair that one with the 4 Get Gone 1-2-3 at 8-1. Gelding by Flying Cowboy 1-2-3 out of the Zerio mare, Wild Mare's Milk. JNSM Incorporated, the owners, John Steinball, the trainer, jockey Gilberto Linares. 3 for 6 this year is Get Gone 1-2-3. Actually ended up breaking his maiden earlier in the year at Remington Park. Also won trial for the maiden stakes there at Albuquerque. Ended up 7th in the finals after getting off a step slow. And also won a trial for the Rainbow Derby a couple races back. Did qualify to the Grade 1 finals there, though. Had another slow beginning where he bobbled at the break and kind of lost all chance from there and Get Gone 1-2-3. Trial 3, that is race 8. Also went with a pair here. Top pick being the 4, Effortless Favorite at 3-1. A gelding by Favorite Cartel out of Swingin' Cartel by Corona Cartel, a heritage yearling a couple years ago for $67,000. Tom Maher, Richard Tobin, and Bill Maher, the owners. Jason Olmstead trains, and the jockey Francisco Ramirez Jr. The gelding's 3 for 5 this year. Started off the year against Allowance Company, Open Allowance Company there at Remington. Got the win there. Ended up 4th in the trials for the Heritage Place Derby. Ended up coming back and winning an allowance immediately after that. And then won his Rainbow Derby trial by a neck. Came back to run fourth, beating a length and a half in the finals. Just wasn't enough to catch Political Twist, Jarvis Fee, and Louisiana Man. Last year was runner-up in the Black Gold Colts and Geldings Futurity. Also won the All-American Juvenile and was one of the dead heat winners for that Heritage Place Futurity, the other we talked about a moment ago. 628,000 earnings for Effortless Favorite coming into the All-American Derby trials. And I'm going to pair him with the 8 DR Make It Sweet at 10-1, a gelding by One Valiant Hero out of Sweet 16 by PYC Paint Your Wagon. Vitona Stanley, the owner, Jed Vane Trains, jockey Juan Polito. Be the first start of the year for DR Make It Sweet. Last year was 3 for 6. Won at first asking against Maiden Company at Remington. Ended up qualifying to the Golden State Million Futurity out at Los Al. Ended up 9th in that one after coming in a bit at the start. Got bumped, lost the path early, and was 4th in the 2 million trials behind Toby Sis, Doodah Cartel, and Cowboy Country 1, 2, 3. Worked on July 22nd, 3:30 and 16:95 was 5th fastest of 6 for DR Make It Sweet. And then in trial 4, I went 3 deep. Again, that's race number 9. Ended up going with the 9 on top. That's JC Speeding at 9-2. A colt by Cholitos. Out of the high rate of return mare, High Speed Kitty, owned by Plain Fun LLC. D. Keener, the trainer, the jockey James Flores. 2 for 5 this year. He's had a great year this year. Won first time around in the Remington Park Derby trials. Ended up beating ahead in the finals. Impressively got up to win by a nose in his Heritage Derby trial, and then finished second behind his stablemate Point Blank Range by a length in the finals. Then last time out was third in the Rainbow Derby trials. Kind of veered out a bit at the start, and it wasn't enough to get gone 1, 2, 3 in Expensive Boots. I believe both of those ended up making the finals, or maybe one made the Derby finals and one made the consolation. I can't remember now. Of course, JC Speeding had a really good year last year against the Paints, won that Speed Horse Grand Paint Appaloosa Futurity, was runner-up to Effortless Favorite in the All-American Juvenile, and also third in the Texas Classic Futurity, another grade 1. Not much you can knock on this one. I mean, 7 wins from 13 career starts, 372,000 earnings for JC Speeding. Second, I'll go with the 6 Louisiana Man at 3-1. A gelding by Dominion out of the First Down Jewel mare, Jules Fortune, a $13,500 LQHBA yearling 2 years ago for Jerry DeVille Jr. and Rosilio Espinoza. Jose Lopez, the trainer, Manny Gutierrez with the call. This one's 2 for 5 this year. Started out at Remington in trials for the Oklahoma Derby. Got the win by 3/4 of a length and came back to run 4th in the finals. Won a trial for the Heritage Derby by 2 lengths. Had the fastest time, but it ended up scratching in that one. I then finished second to Jarvis V by a neck in the Rainbow Derby trials. Came back and ran 3rd in the finals behind Jarvis V and Political Twist once more. Really good year last year, finishing second in the Laddie Futurity. Was also second in the Lee Berwick and the LQHBA Sale Futurity, and was 3rd in the Million last year against State Breds in Louisiana. And then for my third one to round this ticket out is going to be the 5 Investor at 7-2. A gelding by Dulcie Santacha out of Van Poof She's Gone by Stoli. A $28,000 select sale purchase a couple years ago for Richard Young, Joe David Yates, and Zach Steinbaugh. Zach Steinbaugh trains, and Gilberto Linares will be aboard. This one's 2 for 4 this year. Won against Allowance Company at Remington by a half length on debut this year, and also won by a half length in the Ruidoso Derby trial. Came back to run 4th in the finals, and then was 3rd in the Rainbow Derby trials behind Effortless Favorite and Hitman V last time out. This one did qualify to the All-American Futurity last year and finished 4th behind King of the Tide, Political Twist, and Lethal Lobo. And really, about the only times he's gotten beat have been by some all-star horses. So he's definitely going to be tough in this trial as well. Again, that's a $12 ticket. 1, 3, 2, 4, 4, 8, 9, 6, 5. And that pick 4 to kick off the All-American Derby trials. One more pick 4 for you. The last 4 All-American Derby trials. It's a $4 ticket. Ended up saving a little money on this one, managing a single one here in a moment. Trial 5, race 10. I went 2 deep. And what a matchup this is, a rematch of the top 2 finishers in last year's All-American Futurity. Top selection being the 3, Political Twist at 7-5. A gelding by Apolitical Jess out of C Twister Sace by Trey Sace. Was a select yearling a couple years ago for $150,000 for La Feliz Montaña Ranch LLC and Ray Willis. Manny Rodriguez trains, Luis Martinez with the call. He's 2 for 2 this year, won both his trial and final of the Rainbow Derby, of course. Last year, his champion year last year, won the West Texas Futurity, the Ruidoso Futurity, of course, runner up in that All American, and also a finalist in the 2 million out at Los Al. And then, of course, we got the 4 King of the Tide at 7 to 2, a gelding by I Am King out of Miss Riptide by Ocean Runaway. New Mexico bred sale purchased a couple years ago for $130,000. Gene and Todd Bradley, Ware Brown, the owners, Trey Wood, the trainer, the jockey, Ricky Ramirez. Only start this year was in the Zia Derby trials, ended up third behind King of State, the eventual winner. And Me Capitan was off slow, showed a bit of a rally, but couldn't quite gain enough ground to catch the top two. Before that, hadn't seen him since the New Mexico State Fair trials, ended up winning that one by 2.5 lengths. Of course, won the All-American, runner-up in the Mountaintop last year as well. Hadn't had a recent work since that Zia Derby trial either. Nearing 1.6 million in earnings though, and King of the Tide. Trial 6, I ended up singling the 1. GF She's Sinful at 9 to 5, a daughter of Dilsey Sentacha out of the Foos mare BF Foosarageous. A $50,000 select yearling 2 years ago for All In Partners. Wes Giles, the trainer, Noe Garcia Jr. will ride. This one's 2 for 4 this year. Of course, was an impressive winner of the Ruidoso Derby early in the year, and then, or I should say earlier in the meet there at Albuquerque. And then runner-up in the Grade 1 Rainbow Oaks last time out by 3/4 behind Toby Sis. Opts to run in the Derby this time around. Was also a finalist in the Texas Classic Futurity last year, but had a lot of trouble in that one and ended up 10th. And then in the 7th, also went 2 deep in this one. That is race 12. My top pick is going to be the 5 Point Blank Range at 5 to 2. A gelding by Tel Cartel out of Fanny Blankers by Bodacious Dash. A $40,000 select yearling owned by 918 Bloodstock, D. Keener the trainer, jockey Roman Cruz. He's 4 for 5 this year as Point Blank Range. I ended up actually broke his maiden in the trials for the Remington Park Derby. Didn't qualify there, but did qualify to the Heritage Place Derby with a win in the trial, and then came back to win the Grade 2 finals as well, going away by a length over JC Speeding and Argyles. 2 races back in the Rainbow Derby trials, got the win by a neck over Jess Hot Z and Cyber Blues. Managed to qualify to the Grade 1 finals. Ended up 10th after lugging out a bit and then faded there late. Did Point Blank Range. $182,000 earnings so far for the Tel Cartel gelding. And I'll pair that one with the 9 Rovo's Rail at 7 to 2. It's a colt by Freight Train B out of Mavara Vegas by FDD Dynasty, a $100,000 select yearling for RNC Partnership. JJ Gonzalez trains the jockey Joseph Bellick Jr. This will be the colt's first start of the year. First time we'll see him since the All-American Futurity last year. Ended up 9th there after veering in a bit at the start. Won a trial at Remington early in the year. Was second to Political Twist in the Ruidoso trials and was second to the Diesel Train in the All-American trials. So see what that one can do off a long layoff. Does draw the outside, so I like that for Rovo's Rail. 1 trial left. 2 deep in this one as well, with the 1 Flying Chance as my top pick at 9 to 5. A gelding by Flying Cowboy 123 out of Little Affection by Jody's Money Pop. $185,000 TQHA yearling a couple years ago for JC and CF LLC. Rodolfo Valle is the trainer, the jockey Joseph Bellick Jr. 1 for 2 this year, won impressively in the Ruidoso Derby trials by 3/4 of a length, pulling clear toward the end. Qualified to the Grade 1 finals and finished 5th with an even effort that day. Last year was 3rd in the All-American Juvenile as well, and has since worked on July 31st, 220 and 12:23, was 9th fastest of 19 for Flying Chance in Post 1. And I'll pair him with the 6 Cowboy 1, another gelding by Flying Cowboy 123 from the first Moonflash mare, Kylie Joy, a $100,000 Heritage Place yearling a couple years ago for Double A Farms LLC. Marco Flores, the trainer, Sergio Becerra Jr. will ride. Cowboy 1 is 1 for 5 this year. That win came in the trials for the West Texas Derby. Had a bit of a break after that, finished 4th in the Remington Park Derby trials. Didn't qualify there, but was a finalist in the Mr. Masterbug Stakes. Ended up 4th the last 2 times out. in the Ruidoso Derby trials and in the Ruidoso Invitational behind Famous and Relentless, the Diesel Train and Apolitical Valor, who he'll face again here on Sunday. Last year was runner-up in the La Fiesta Futurity and a dead heat winner of the Ruidoso Juvenile last year, earner of 150,000 so far in Cowboy 1. So again, that is a $4 ticket, 3415916 to round out the Derby trials. That'll do it for me. Thank y'all for listening. I mentioned go back and listen to that Futurity trial preview. That is, hopefully they're not going to redraw. I've been hearing some stuff about maybe redrawing for it. Hopefully that's not the case. If they do end up redrawing, don't go listen to that one because the picks are going to be wrong. And I apologize for getting it out too soon, I guess, on that. Hopefully it doesn't happen and it goes as it's supposed to. But good luck to everybody in the All-American trials and around the country this weekend. Lots of action going on all over the place. So stay tuned for the replays and several qualifiers lists coming out this weekend as well.